There are moments in life when silence itself becomes a form of preparation, when nothing seems to move and answers refuse to arrive, not because they are absent but because they are being held back with intention. For the chosen ones, this silence is never punishment, it is alignment. Divine secrets are not hidden to tease or deny, they are protected until the inner structure is strong enough to carry their weight. Many have wondered why clarity came later than expected, why prayers felt unanswered, why doors remained closed even when effort was sincere. What was actually happening was an internal shaping, a quiet construction of endurance, discernment, and humility. Revelation without readiness can destroy what it was meant to elevate, and God does not waste truth on unstable foundations. Being ready does not mean being perfect. It means being emptied of false motives, stripped of desperation, and no longer driven by the need to prove anything. The chosen reach readiness when they stop chasing signs and start living in obedience without applause. This is why the process often includes isolation, misunderstanding, and seasons where recognition disappears. These moments expose attachment to validation and refine intention. When the heart no longer demands explanation, when faith exists even without reassurance, readiness is forming. Only then can divine information be trusted in human hands. Secrets from God are never casual disclosures. They are assignments. They carry responsibility, consequence, and timing. Many people desire insight, but few are willing to be accountable for what insight requires. A divine secret will rearrange priorities, separate relationships, and demand courage where comfort once lived. This is why God waits. He watches how the chosen respond when nothing makes sense. He observes reactions to delay, to disappointment, to being overlooked. Readiness is proven in consistency, not in emotional intensity. Those who remain faithful when progress is invisible demonstrate the capacity to steward what is coming. For the chosen ones, readiness is also marked by a shift in how they perceive themselves. The need to be seen dissolves, and the desire to be aligned becomes stronger than the desire to be admired. Ego softens, reaction slow, and discernment sharpens. They begin to understand that not every battle requires response and not every truth requires announcement. This maturity is crucial because divine secrets attract opposition. What is revealed will be challenged, misunderstood, and sometimes attacked. Without readiness, the pressure of resistance would cause retreat or compromise. The preparation phase often feels like loss because it removes what once felt essential. Friendships fade, routines collapse, and identities that were built around struggle begin to crack. This can feel disorienting, but it is intentional. God cannot reveal a new direction to someone still clinging to an old version of themselves. Readiness requires surrender, and surrender is rarely comfortable. It asks for trust without guarantees and obedience without timelines. Many walk away at this stage, not because they were unchosen, but because they were unwilling to let go. When readiness arrives, it does not announce itself loudly. It shows up as peace in uncertainty, clarity in chaos, and restraint where impulse once ruled. The chosen may not even realize the transition has occurred until revelation begins to surface naturally. Insight comes without strain. Connections align without force. Opportunities appear without manipulation. This is the signal that the internal work has reached completion. The divine secret can now be entrusted because the chosen will not misuse it, rush it, or expose it prematurely. God reveals only what aligns with purpose, never what feeds curiosity alone. The chosen learn to listen without demanding explanation and to move without needing full visibility. This posture of trust is the final confirmation of readiness. It demonstrates that revelation will not become an idol, nor will it replace dependence on God. Instead, it becomes a tool for service, guidance, and transformation. The secret is no longer about personal elevation but about fulfilling a greater design. The waiting was never about withholding love. It was about ensuring stability. The delay was not denial, it was development. Each unanswered prayer built capacity. Each closed door reinforced discernment. Each moment of silence strengthens spiritual hearing. By the time the secret is revealed, the chosen no longer question why it took so long. They understand that earlier disclosure would have cost them more than it gave. Readiness is the point where revelation no longer overwhelms, where responsibility is accepted without fear, and where trust is strong enough to carry truth without distortion. Sudden shifts rarely announce themselves gently. They arrive as pressure, as an unexplainable urgency in the spirit, as a sense that something is moving faster than the mind can process. For the chosen ones, this pressure is not chaos, it is evidence of alignment with an unstoppable event that has already been set in motion. When God initiates a shift, it does not wait for comfort or consensus. It moves according to divine timing, and those connected to it feel the impact first. This is why restlessness appears without clear reason, why old routines suddenly feel suffocating, and why patience is tested more intensely than ever before. Spiritual pressure is often misunderstood as anxiety or confusion, but there is a difference. Anxiety drains, but divine pressure sharpens. It brings awareness rather than fear. It creates alertness rather than panic. The chosen may feel pushed to reflect, to withdraw, or to release habits that once felt harmless. This pressure is a signal that space is being made for something larger. God does not pour new wine into unprepared vessels, and pressure is how capacity is expanded. What feels uncomfortable is often what is necessary to prevent rupture when the shift fully manifests. Shifts also expose attachment. When movement begins, anything not aligned becomes unstable. Relationships that relied on old versions of you start to strain. Environments that once felt familiar begin to feel foreign. This is not because something is wrong, but because growth demands repositioning. An unstoppable event cannot carry unnecessary weight. It requires focus, flexibility, and trust. The chosen are being adjusted internally so they can move without hesitation when the moment arrives. This adjustment phase often feels like loss, but it is actually refinement. There is a reason the pressure intensifies before breakthrough. Resistance increases when movement is inevitable. Just as muscles experience tension before strength is built, the spirit encounters pressure before expansion. The chosen may notice heightened opposition, distractions, or internal battles during this time. Old doubts resurface, past failures attempt to reclaim attention, and voices of limitation grow louder. This is not regression, it is confrontation. Everything that could interfere with what is coming is being brought to the surface to be addressed and released. Divine shifts do not require permission from circumstances. They override logic, timelines, and expectations. This is why the chosen often feel caught between where they are and where they know they are going. The pressure exists in this in-between space. It demands faith without evidence and obedience without clarity. Many mistake this phase for stagnation, but it is actually acceleration happening beneath the surface. What is unseen is being aligned faster than what is visible can keep up with. The sense of urgency that accompanies spiritual pressure is not meant to create haste but readiness. It sharpens discernment and quiets distractions. The chosen begin to notice a reduced tolerance for superficial conversations, meaningless pursuits, and environments that drain rather than nourish. This narrowing of focus is intentional. An unstoppable event requires clarity of vision and purity of intention. The pressure is separating what matters from what merely occupies time. As the shift approaches, the chosen may experience sudden clarity followed by moments of silence. This rhythm is deliberate. Insight arrives, then space is given to integrate it. God speaks, then allows stillness to deepen understanding. This cycle strengthens trust and dependence. It teaches the chosen to move in step rather than ahead. The pressure teaches timing. It conditions the spirit to respond quickly when direction is given and to wait patiently when it is not. Unstoppable events do not need force to succeed. They unfold because they are supported by divine authority. The pressure felt by the chosen is not a burden to carry alone, it is a reminder to stay aligned. Resistance comes from trying to control what is meant to be surrendered. When control is released, the pressure transforms into momentum. What once felt heavy begins to feel purposeful. Movement becomes smoother, and confidence replaces uncertainty. This season is not about understanding every detail but about recognizing the signs. Spiritual pressure is a language God uses to communicate proximity. It signals that the shift is close enough to be felt. The chosen are not being warned of danger, they are being alerted to destiny. What is coming will not be stopped by delay, doubt, or opposition. It has already been authorized. The pressure is simply the echo of something massive approaching, inviting readiness, focus, and trust as the moment draws near. When what is coming is meant to alter direction permanently, it never arrives quietly or without consequence. For the chosen ones, there is an inner awareness that life as it has been cannot continue the same way. This is not fear of the future, it is recognition that a defining shift is approaching. What is ahead is not an upgrade of the old path but a redirection that changes how purpose is expressed, how time is valued, and how identity is understood. Permanent change requires separation from what once felt familiar, and that separation often begins internally long before anything visible changes. A path-altering moment does not always look dramatic at first. Sometimes it appears as a subtle loss of interest in goals that once mattered deeply. Ambitions fade, not because they were wrong, but because they no longer fit the design ahead. The chosen may feel conflicted, questioning why motivation has shifted or why success no longer satisfies the way it once did. This is not confusion, it is recalibration. God removes desire for what cannot travel forward with you. What feels like discontent is actually guidance, steering the heart away from dead ends and toward alignment. Permanent change also brings a new awareness of responsibility. The chosen begin to sense that their decisions carry greater weight, that small choices now influence long-term outcomes. This awareness can feel heavy, but it is a sign of growth. When purpose expands, so does accountability. The path ahead demands intentionality, discernment, and integrity. Casual living no longer feels possible because the season no longer allows it. This internal pressure is not meant to restrict but to protect. It guards the future by shaping the present. As the path shifts, the chosen may experience resistance from both within and without. Internally, old fears attempt to resurface, reminding them of past failures or missed opportunities. Externally, people who were comfortable with the old version may push back against change. This resistance is not an indication of error but of transition. Permanent change disrupts comfort zones. It challenges established expectations and exposes attachment to stability. The chosen must learn to move forward without needing approval from those who cannot see what God has revealed. A defining path change often requires the release of identities built for survival rather than purpose. Many chosen ones learn to adapt, to please, or to remain invisible in order to endure earlier seasons. These traits were once necessary, but they cannot lead the next chapter. What is coming requires authenticity, courage, and presence. Letting go of old identities can feel like loss, but it is actually liberation. The chosen are not becoming someone new, they are uncovering who they were always meant to be. Time begins to feel different when the path shifts. Urgency replaces procrastination, not out of fear but out of clarity. The chosen become more selective with their energy, aware that not every opportunity deserves attention. This discernment is essential because the new path is not about quantity but impact. Each step matters. Each decision builds momentum. The past can no longer be revisited casually because the future is actively forming. This awareness brings focus and intention to daily life. Permanent change also reshapes how success is measured. External validation loses its power, and inner alignment becomes the true indicator of progress. The chosen may accomplish less outwardly during this transition, yet feel more fulfilled than ever before. This paradox can be confusing, especially in a world that equates busyness with value. However, the path ahead prioritizes depth over display. What is being built is meant to last, not to impress temporarily. As the shift solidifies, the chosen may notice a strengthening of intuition and spiritual sensitivity. Guidance becomes clearer, even if circumstances remain uncertain. Decisions feel more instinctive, less debated. This is the result of alignment. When the path is set, clarity follows. The chosen no longer need to analyze every option because direction is anchored internally. Trust replaces hesitation, and movement becomes more natural. What is ahead will not allow return to the old way of living. Once the path changes, awareness cannot be undone. The chosen understand that this is a threshold, not a phase. Stepping forward means accepting that some doors will close permanently. This realization can bring both grief and relief. Grief for what is left behind, and relief for what no longer needs to be carried. The path ahead is demanding but purposeful, challenging but aligned, and once entered, it reshapes identity, priorities, and destiny in ways that cannot be reversed.